I would request that Wendy Ann and Victor at least create a list of the funds that you have advanced to cover estate expenses. I expect from what I'm looking at, it's primarily the real estate taxes and the and some payments to Ms. McCann.
And then the cremation, Your Honor.
And the cremation. But if you could detail those, I would appreciate that.
Your Honor, Roy was eligible for and wanted a military funeral. It would have been paid in full. Why did he not get it?
Because he never asked for one, Your Honor.
Oh, you are so full of it, Wendy. Our entire life.
There's not going to be an argument back and forth between you. Ms. Packard, I've asked you not to interrupt other people. I was speaking to your sister and asking her to just give a list of the funds advanced. I think she may have in another filing, but if you could just do that to file list of funds advanced. Okay. There's no way to know whether he requested a military funeral. At that point, Ms. Packard, as I understand from your prior filings, you were not in touch with your father.
Your Honor, our entire lives we were told that you only wanted two things when he died. He didn't want to die alone, and he wanted a military funeral. He felt he deserved that. Even when I wasn't in touch with him, when I was talking to Wendy's previous husband, he told me that Roy still wanted a military funeral.
Okay, when was that, Ms.
Before
Packard?
He died. I've never known anybody in the military to change their mind on that, Your Honor. I would love to see some, if there are any that you know of, I'd love to talk to them.
So, Ms. Packard, as far as I'm concerned, the funeral bill was quite reasonable. And I don't know what's involved in a military funeral. However, I doubt it's completely free. There's probably a certain amount of funds allocated for one, but I have no idea because, I've seen a few accountings come through with military funeral and then, some small payment. But Ms. Durkee, Wendy Ann Durkee, you wanted to say something?
Your Honor, my first husband never spoke to Mrs. Packard about my dad's funeral wishes. She only brought up his name because he's deceased. And then there's no way to have a witness say, nope, that never happened.
And your first husband, when were you divorced or did he die?
No.
And what year was it?
My first husband died in 2011. Okay. My dad died in 2019.
So anything the first husband, it would be hearsay anyway, Ms. Packard. And here in the time, the court does have some discretion to admit hearsay, but if it was said in 2011, many things could have changed between 2011 and 2019. So I'm not going to hear anything else about the funeral.
You don't want to hear anything that has to do with proving anything that Wendy screwed up this whole time, Your Honor. You've been biased right from the start.
Okay.
I'd like to apologize.
Oh, quit sucking up, Wendy.
That's not how we were raised. It's not. She has untreated mental health issues.
Oh, Wendy,
okay,
please.
We're not going to get into dissing each other's mental health or anything else.
Mine actually are managed, Wendy. You should try it.
Okay. Ms. Packard, if you keep interrupting, I'm going to have you muted and then just call on you when I want to hear from you. Do you understand that, Ms. Packard? Ms. Packard? All right. So now there is a concern about the bill submitted by Ms. Durkee for her time. And I have reviewed that bill, and I do think that there are some things that are rather high on that bill. And we could also talk about the billing rate. So Ms. Wendy Durkee, how did you come up with a billing rate of $45 an hour?
I was told that that's what the rate was, and that's what I charge for my seamstressing.
Okay, I've never heard of a fixed rate for doing the work unless you happen to have a special skill in doing that. So, Ms. McCann?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Durkee asked me, and I told her that I was seeing anything from 35 upwards of 75 for special circumstances. I also know people who are charging $3.50 an hour because they're lawyers. So I just felt that with all of the litigation, the fact she has to attend every hearing, trying to find his will, and the fact that she was not compensated for any of this, and it looked likely she wouldn't be compensated for any of this, that 45 was mid-range, and accountings are difficult to go through, and inventories were not easy in this case because it was, equipment. Equipment that had been sitting in fields. So it was a lot. Title searches, whether there were liens, this wasn't a standard hand out the china, sell the house kind of estate. So I agreed with her that I thought 45 was reasonable.
Okay, well, the court is going to allow a rate of $35 an hour for Ms. Durkee. And I certainly recognize that Ms. Packard has filed multiple repetitive pleadings in this case, which take time to review. And attorney meetings and hearings. We've had a lot of hearings. We've probably devoted more to this relatively small estate than I have had to devote time to, an estate of over $1 million. And that's in court time and Ms. McCann's time. However, I am going to cut the number of hours somewhat on those two categories, attorney meetings and hearings, and 2653. I did require Ms. Durkee to appear in person at an initial hearing, but if she wishes to appear by video WebEx, that's fine. Or
I don't have internet, Your Honor.
Oh, you don't have internet? That's, I think, why we ended up at that. Yeah. We're at some point switching to Zoom, which might work better from the library, but they initially told us that would be in July, and now we have no idea. And if you go onto the website where it says schedule for Zoom integration, it doesn't have anything listed. At least it didn't last week. I haven't checked it this week. I do think it will work better, and it will be easier for all parties to use it. But you're welcome to come in person, and when you're in person, I try to be in person as well, unless I'm not here for some reason. But, I haven't required your attorney to come up because that would be an additional expense to the estate of her transportation time. So we don't want to do that. So I'm going to redo the hours for reviewing opposing party pleadings. I'm going to reduce that to 20 hours, and the attorney meetings and hearings to 25 hours. Just recognizing that this is, ordinarily that would be way out of line, but this estate has been complicated. We also have to recognize that it was complicated, at least initially at the beginning, by the list of interested persons and your suggestion that the state police locate your sister.
Oh, they knew right where she was, but I will not ever have any contact with her, and that's part of the reason she's dragging this out, is because it compels me to have contact.
Objection, Your Honor.
You know, I'm not interested. It's clear that the two of you dislike each other. Okay? That dislike of each other has increased the costs to the estate in quite an amount. So that's what we're dealing with. I'm going to allow, as I said, 25 hours for the attorney meetings, 20 hours for opposing party, and a fee of $35 an hour. I haven't recalculated what that would be, but that will be the allowed fee for Ms. Durkee. Of course, Ms. Durkee is not going to get paid until or unless the house sells. With respect to Mr. Scoville's fees, Ms. Packard, tell me why you think Mr. Scoville shouldn't be paid.
Because he had said he wasn't charging me, and he didn't even ask me to sign any kind of a fee agreement until 4 months into the hearing, after he started to talk to Miss McCann about having the estate pay him. And that is in Miss McCann's, that is in the paperwork Miss McCann submitted.
Okay. You know, usually, or I don't know if I can say usually, I will say quite often in a contested estate, it is common for the estate to pay the legal fees on both sides.
He had said he was doing it pro bono, Your Honor. As I said, he did not even ask me to sign a fee agreement for 4 months until after Miss McCann brought up having the estate pay him, and then he submitted a fee agreement to me and told me I had to pay it or he was going to quit.
All right. You know, Ms. Packard, I think this estate would have gone a lot more smoothly if you had kept Mr. Scoville as an attorney. It probably would be closed by now.
Your Honor, with respect, Wendy Durkee had 6 years from the time she took guardianship of Roy Durkee till the 2 years after he died, and she was required to have inventory every year. If she had done her job as a guardian and as an administrator and had everything set up for the probate, and hadn't fought me on seeing the gun, hadn't fought me on getting somebody down there to view the property, which I set up both times, it would have been done already.
So I've heard you state that, and I'm going to look up the guardianship case, which I do not have in front of me. Let's see.
She took guardianship 2016, Your Honor.
Yeah, and I was not the judge in 2016, so let's start from that.
Every year she was required to submit an accounting of his estate. And she even stated at the last hearing that she never bothered to submit a final accounting to the court when he died, which is totally egregious. And I can't believe that nothing is being done to
Ms. Packard, I do not want you using words like egregious or anything like that. So I'm going to look at his voluntary guardianship in 2016. I just found the case online.
Involuntary, Your Honor.
It was a voluntary guardianship. At that point it was. I'm looking at it. The problem is it's an old case and it is not in our system.
Paperwork I have says it was involuntary, Your Honor.
Please stop interrupting me, Ms. Packard.
Well, it's kind of hard to see when you're done talking, Your Honor. I can't see you.
Well, that's not my fault that you don't have video.
Not mine either, Your Honor, with respect. I tried. I reloaded everything to try and get it.
We're going to mute you for now, Ms. Packard.
Okay. So we do have that file here. That's where
We do have it here. Okay.
Yep.
I'm just looking at what is here on the online file. Okay, so it appears that Ms. Packard was a party in that case. That's what it says in 2016. An evaluation was ordered.